Jake was a bright and curious 12-year-old boy who lived in a quiet suburban town with his father, David. One evening, after finishing his homework, Jake sat beside his father on the porch and asked, "Dad, how do I know how much I'm really worth?" David looked at his son, smiled, and without saying a word, stood up and walked inside the house. A moment later, he returned holding a small, round stone that looked quite ordinary. He placed it in Jake's hand. "Son, I want you to take this stone to a few different places and try to sell it. But here's the rule. When someone asks you how much it costs, don't say a word. Just hold up 2 fingers, and no matter what they offer, don't sell it. Bring it back home." Jake furrowed his brows in confusion. "But Dad, it's just a rock. Why would anyone want to buy it?" David chuckled. "Trust me. Just follow what I said." Still unsure but curious, Jake set off the next morning with the stone in his pocket. His first stop was the local farmer's market, a busy place where people gathered to buy fresh fruits, vegetables, and homemade goods. He approached a friendly fruit vendor, a man in his 60s with a kind face, and showed him the stone. The vendor picked it up, turned it over in his hand, and then said with a chuckle, "Well, this could make a nice little paperweight for my stall. I'll give you $2 more for it." Jake, remembering his father's instructions, didn't say anything and simply held up 2 fingers. The vendor nodded. "All right, $2 it is." But Jake took the stone back and walked away, wondering why his father had sent him on this strange task. Next, he went downtown to an old antique shop filled with dusty relics, vintage furniture, and collectibles. The shop owner, a woman named Mrs. Thompson, examined the stone carefully under a lamp. She murmured, rubbing the surface with her fingers. "This looks like something interesting. Possibly an old gemstone or a rare mineral. I'll give you $200 for it." Jake's eyes widened. $200? He thought. Just a few minutes ago, someone had offered him only $2. Again, he held up 2 fingers, just as his father had told him. Mrs. Thompson smiled. "Ah, you want $2,000. I can't go that high, but I'd love to have it in my collection." Jake shook his head, took the stone, and walked out, now even more curious than before. His final stop was an elegant jewelry store in the heart of the city. The store had bright glass display cases filled with sparkling diamonds, emeralds, and rubies. A well-dressed jeweler with glasses perched on his nose greeted Jake with a polite nod. "Can I help you, young man?" the jeweler asked. Jake silently placed the stone on the glass counter. The jeweler picked it up, examined it under a magnifying glass, and then suddenly froze. His expression changed from casual curiosity to amazement. He grabbed another tool, inspected the stone under a bright light, and then let out a small gasp. Where did you get this?" he asked, almost whispering. Jake just smiled and held up 2 fingers. The jeweler took a deep breath. "Listen, kid. I don't know if you realize this, but this isn't just a stone. This is an incredibly rare and priceless diamond. One of the finest I've ever seen. If you're willing to sell it, I'll offer you $200,000 right now." When he reached home, he ran straight to his father. "Dad, you won't believe what happened," he exclaimed. "The fruit vendor said the stone was worth $2. The antique shop offered me $200. And then the jeweler said it was a priceless diamond and offered me $200,000. David smiled knowingly. "And what did you learn from this, son?" Jake thought for a moment and then said, "The same stone was worth different amounts to different people. Some saw it as almost worthless, while others saw it as priceless." His father nodded. "Exactly. This stone is just like you, Jake. Not everyone will see your true worth. Some will think you're ordinary, some will see a little bit of value in you, but only a few will recognize how truly special you are. The key in life is to surround yourself with people who recognize and appreciate your true value. Never let someone else's opinion define your worth."